welcome to the show today. Today we are talking about trade exceptions or traded player exceptions. What are they? Are they the same thing? This is a complicated one. If you haven't watched my salary cap video, you should watch that. Maybe you can still watch this if you know about the NBA. If you're not completely ignorant to the NBA, just continue watching this video. If you are completely ignorant and you don't know what the salary cap is, go watch my salary cap video. It sucks that you spend some time watching this video, but go watch the salary cap video. I think that'll be better for you. But if you do know about the NBA, you already know about the salary cap, let's talk about traded player exceptions. So, what is a traded player exception? It lets you go over the cap. It's an exception to the salary cap. That is what an exception is. You can go over the cap by trading players. How do you do this? Well, you can do it two ways. You can do it with a simultaneous trade, which is a player for player, or you can do it with a non-simultaneous trade, which is a player for nothing but picks. Obviously, picks don't make money, picks don't make salary, so there will be a deficit in your books if you trade away one player for a pick. And that is what we call a traded player credit. So what is a simultaneous trade? Obviously, like I said, is a player for player. If you are under the cap, you really can't go over the salary cap in a trade. They don't let you do it. You can only go over the salary cap $100,000. So if you're trying to acquire a player and you're already under the salary cap, you have to go and acquire players to go over the salary cap in order to make a traded player exception. So I thought that was interesting. You can only go over the cap with a trade exception if you're already over the cap. I'm gonna explain this a little bit further, because if you are over the salary cap, now you can go way over the cap. How do you do it? Well, now you can trade players and you can go 175% over the outgoing player's salary. How does that work? Well, let's take a player like Pat Connaughton. He's making $6 million. Let's say the Bucks are over the cap, which I believe they are. Most NBA teams are over the cap. So he's worth $6 million. The Bucks can trade for Danny Green, making $10 million. Why? Because Danny is making 175% of Pat Connaughton's salary. You can get 175% of the outgoing salary. So if Pat Connaughton's salary is the outgoing salary, they can get back from Memphis, that's the team Danny Green is on right now. They can get back Danny Green, who is making $10 million, thus increasing their payroll $4 million, okay? So now they're $4 million more over the salary cap. What if you're over the tax threshold? If you don't know what the tax threshold is, it's basically when you start paying luxury tax. It's even higher than the salary cap. If you don't know this stuff, go watch my salary cap video, but you can only sign players if the incoming salary is 125% of the outgoing salary. So you can only go over 125%. Let's go back to our Pat Connaughton example. Let's say the Bucks are way over the cap, right? Now, if they want to trade a player and they want to go more over the cap, they can only go over 125% of the outgoing salary. So we have that Pat Connaughton salary, which is a $6 million contract. What they can do is they can get Cedi Osman from the Cleveland Cavaliers because he's making $7.5 million, which is 125% of $6 million. So you can go over the cap a little if you're already paying the tax. If you're already paying the tax, you can't go crazy. You can't go 175% over, but you can go a little bit over. So if you're a little bit over the cap, you can go 175%. But if you're way over the cap, you can only go 125% of the cap. But if you're under the salary cap, you cannot go over the salary cap with a traded player. Why? Who knows? There's no reason for these to be these complicated. I'm sure there is a reason, there is a story behind every rule, but to me, personally, I don't understand why these exist. Let's go into non-simultaneous trades. Non-simultaneous trades happen when there is a player for a pick. Obviously, picks don't make money. Picks aren't a tax on the payroll, so you have a trade credit. Let's say you trade Pat Connaughton for a first-round pick, all right? Let's say the Heat is like, we'll trade you one of our first-round picks if we can get Pat Connaughton. The Bucks say, yeah, done, cool. Now, there's a trade credit for the Bucks. The Bucks just lost $6 million of salary. They don't have to pay a guy $6 million. Now, what they get is they get a credit. They have 1 year to acquire players making a salary of up to $6 million, the Pat Connaughton credit, in a trade. Not as free agents, in a trade. And they can acquire $6 million in salary to go over the cap. But it expires in 1 year. That is a non-simultaneous trade. You have 1 year to make up that money that you lost in the trade for a pick. Remember, picks don't make money. Picks cost you nothing. It's called draft capital. All right, so what is an example of this? Let's talk about Gordon Hayward. So Gordon Hayward had a player option with the Celtics back in like 2019. I don't remember what year it was. It was for like $33 million. So he could opt in and the Celtics could even trade him. They could opt him in for that last year and he could say, oh, we're going to trade him. We have him, we're going to trade him, but they're not. He opts out. He says, no, I don't want the $33 million. Instead, I'm going to go to the Hornets and I'm going to sign for $90 million over 3 years. The Celtics would lose him. He would walk. They wouldn't have to pay him, so that's nice, but he would walk. He would go be a Hornet and they would get nothing in return. So Danny Ainge, the general manager of the Celtics, said, hey, Mitch Kupchak, the general manager of the Hornets, what if I give you 2 second-round picks, I sign Gordon Hayward, and then I trade him to you? So you get Gordon Hayward for the same contract that you were going to already sign him with, but you also get 2 second-round picks. Obviously, Mitch Kupchak is going to say, cool, sounds great. It's going to cost me the same amount of money, and I get free second-round picks. I get 2 free second-round picks. Why would Danny Ainge do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would he give away 2 second-round picks and be in the same place he was? Well, he would get that $28 million trade exception. Why $28 million? Because $28 million was what Gordon Hayward was going to make that year as a Celtic. But since it was a sign and trade, the Hornets now pay him. So that is why they did the trade exception. So Danny Ainge had $28 million. He had 1 year to spend $28 million to go over the cap by acquiring players in trades. So he can go over the cap $28 million, the amount of money he lost on Gordon Hayward, but he has to acquire all those players in trades. You can't go over the cap $28 million and sign free agents. So keep that in mind. You can only do it by doing trades, and you only have 1 year to do it. Okay, I think that was better. I think that was a better example. To be honest with you, I think these trade exceptions are very complicated, and I don't see them serving any purpose. That's how I feel. Anyway,